Hey there guys, I'm SonicGhost and welcome back to some more Let's Play Splatoon. Last time we made our way through World 3 via the Inkling Boy Amiibo challenges, and today we're ready to jump into World 4. So let's go ahead, tap our Inkling Boy and get started. Heyo, what's crackin', playa? Not much, just ready to start up with World 4 here, starting with level 18. Spinning spreaders. Time waits for no squid. So, spreaders here, huh? Don't have to worry about these things all too much. In fact, they're actually going to be more of a help than a hindrance in a lot of areas here. So, we want to be more careful of the enemies as we almost got destroyed immediately in the beginning. That's going to be our actual problem. Since we don't really have much range, we're at the mercy of where the enemies are in relation to us for how well we can start attacking things back. So I'm definitely going to want this armor. It's going to be really helpful to have on a level like this. And since there's a lot of ground here that we just flat out can't get to, yeah, needless to say, that's also not going to help things because we can't throw bombs at that point. They'll just land right into a pit. So bombs aren't going to be much of a help in this level in some cases. I say as I use that to get a box that would normally hold a sunken scroll, but that is one of those rarities. When it comes to attacking enemies, we're not going to be able to really do much with bombs on this stage. So I'm going to keep on using our fling of the roller, and flinging specifically is going to be key here. Rolling around isn't really going to help much in this stage. You really just got to keep on flinging around to actually paint things here in this said level. When you go back and play Splatoon 1 after playing Splatoon 2 and onwards, you do kind of miss the vertical flick in some fashion. While the vertical flick in some cases may not be as good to use as the horizontal flick is, verticals can still help when it comes to range in a lot of cases. Really good to use the vertical in Splatoon 2 and 3 to make up for range issues that you have as the roller class, because here in Splatoon 1, horizontal is all they had, and that only can get you so far when it comes to overall range. But at this section, they know that you might have some trouble here with these Altarians, so they do give you some specials. They give you a thing of armor, so we're good to go at this point. We don't need any of this stuff, thankfully. We can just grab our Zapfish and call it a day. That is spinning spreaders all complete. For completing spinning spreaders, we get ourselves 1,500 gold, which is a good chunk of change. So let's go ahead and move on to level 19, Tumbling Splatforms, the Tentacles of Fate. This is yet another stage. Rolling around won't really help us all too much because of rotating platforms. Once again, we're going to be using our flicks quite a lot here with the roller class, which this is a good time to talk about the class as a whole because there are multiple different rollers, but in Splatoon 1, there weren't that many different rollers, as this was a brand new kind of game. So the Splatoon devs at this time, they gave you a couple different variants of a lot of the different guns, but rollers really only had 3 different variants here in Splatoon 1. The normal version that we're using here, a splat roller, which is a good medium-styled weapon. You know, it's pretty fast, but it has some pretty good coverage to it. Very, very powerful with its flings. So overall, a pretty solid weapon. And when the game first came out, rollers were a little overtuned, and these things killed in pretty much every single battle that they were in. These flicks that I'm doing, no matter where you hit with the said flick, that would count as the full 120 damage, which was a little overpowered. This had to be nerfed in a future update to the game, but this is why a lot of people said back during the original global test fire that rollers were definitely the best weapon to use of the weapons you had to choose from in that said demo. It's because they were overtuned. Simple as that. But we also have carbon rollers in this game, which are very fast-paced rollers, but the range is a little bit worse, and same for their damage. So there are some trade-offs to use the carbon, but they are still really good to use. And while they might have been weaker compared to a normal splat roller, they were still pretty powerful, especially up close and personal. So they were still really good to use in a lot of situations. And then you got the heavy class Dynamo Roller, which nowadays may be scoffed at because Dynamo Rollers are so much harder to use by today's standards in Splatoon and have a lot more drawbacks. But in Splatoon 1, the Dynamo Roller was considered one of the best weapons, and in fact, it was played at top levels. So you've seen a lot of Dynamo Rollers in Splatoon 1 during its competitive era. So don't knock the Dynamo Roller. It packs a punch, it has some good range, and it is a really good weapon here in the first game. But now with all that talk about rollers out of the way, that is Tumbling Splatforms complete. For beating Tumbling Splatforms, we get ourselves 1,600 gold. A good chunk of change. Let's go ahead and move on to level 21. Unwelcome Flying Object. Underpass Infiltration. So there is our said infiltration here. An Ink Striker on Urchin Underpass. This is gonna be a little scary, but just like the last time I ran into one of these strikers, don't stand still for too long, and you'll be okay. Pay attention to your surroundings as well, as where the strikes are gonna come down. That will be pretty well telegraphed, so you don't have to worry about one of the strikes just blindsiding you. Just watch out on the floor and pay attention to your surroundings, and you'll be okay. Plus, swimming around your ink is another good thing to do too. When you're in your ink, the said strikes won't be aiming towards you, as the enemy with the said strikes won't be able to see you. So you'll be okay if you just hide around your ink for a little bit. Careful here not to get hit. And now, grab ourselves our set special. I'm going to keep this Trizuka for now because I don't really need to use it at the moment. I'm perfectly fine just holding on to this thing. Going to want to move away from the center, as that would be a very problematic thing. And just flip around here, take care of all of these enemies. And let's continue on here to our next checkpoint. Move over here to our right side, because down in this corridor, this is where the sunken scroll would be, but inside the box is some extra eggs if you do need some more. There's a sponge here, which is good for cover, but obviously, as you can see, enemies can shoot this thing down pretty fast, and same for the Ink Strike, so not really a thing I'm going to use. In fact, it's just better to take out the enemies immediately. Flick here, take these guys out. And we got ourselves a special here that I could grab, but it's a bomb rush, so I'd rather just hold on to my current Inkzuka, as this will make short work of our enemy up here on top of the said UFO. So let's go ahead and just wail on this guy with some Inkzukas here. And that's the guy completely destroyed. You gotta love how powerful Inkzuka is. People think the Trizuka is super overtuned in Splatoon 3. Have you seen Splatoon 1's Inkzuka? This thing was a powerhouse. And it lets us complete the Unwelcome Flying Object. For completing Unwelcome Flying Object, we get ourselves 1,700 gold, which is a good chunk of change. Now let's move on to the boss here, World 4, as now we're done with all the levels. Inkling is on the menu. The Ravenous Octomaw. Here we go, our rematch against Octomaw, this time with the Hero Roller. This thing's gonna make short work of this guy's teeth. I mean, look inside of his mouth now. There's barely any teeth left. But we can't roll over his tentacle in the same way as we can with his teeth. Instead, just fling that, as rolling won't do anything against the tentacle. Only your fling will do damage. So keep that in mind. But thankfully, the roll is good for destroying a lot of these teeth. Same for your flicks. Teeth are not gonna be an issue when it comes to this said enemy. So I'm just gonna wait here, gonna roll out. I'm gonna do some flicks here, which will destroy a good chunk of the teeth. Do another one, go ahead, throw a bomb in, and that is it for phase 2. Pretty simple. Now let's move on to phase 3. He replaces teeth from pearly whites to pearly purples to now good old gold teeth. These are the most durable ones yet, and these are gonna be a little too strong for us to just roll over, unlike phase 1 and 2. While we can roll these teeth and do some damage, it's not going to be enough to destroy them. So we will want to use our flicks here more often, as the flick will still destroy the teeth in one go. And that is Octomall, a very easy boss here, using the Splat Roller. And in fact, of the 3 different weapons that we have played so far in Splatoon, between the Hero Shot, the Hero Charger, and the Hero Roller, that's definitely the easiest weapon we have had yet for the said fight. But that is the Octomall defeated using the Hero Roller. For defeating the Octomall with the Hero Roller, we unlock the Squid Racer game over in the arcade. So that's another new minigame we can play on our gamepad. So, what do you say, before we jump into World 5, we head over to that said arcade and play us some Squid Racer. So our next game that we unlocked here, Squid Racer. Looking down at the gamepad, we can see our set of rules here. So we use the left stick to move, ZL is to drift, and ZR is to accelerate. This is a simple racing game here where you're racing against other squids, and the goal is to come in first place. It's a pretty simple game, not gonna lie, but it does get pretty difficult later on as these tracks are gonna become more and more complex, and the CPUs here do a pretty good job at going as fast as they can without making too many mistakes. As you can see there, I didn't really make any mistakes at all, but yet I barely came in first place. You're gonna need to start drifting in later races, as drifting is going to give you a bit of a speed boost. The only way you're gonna be able to keep up. Now, thankfully, to go to the next stage, you don't necessarily need to get first place, which is great. But here in the next level, we want to go ahead and collect these fish here in the middle of the map, as this will give us a bit of a speed boost. And that will help us get to the end. But this is essentially all when it comes to Squid Racer here. It's an interesting little racing game, but nothing really too special. My favorite part is when you get some of the power-ups, you could just eat your opponents. So at that point, you kind of just destroy the competition. And you can even get a fast start if you press the accelerate right before the race starts. Kind of similar to how Mario Kart handles its little starting boost mechanic. So that's pretty much Squid Racer in a nutshell. Very simple little game, but still a fun one nonetheless. So now we played some Squid Racer on our Wii U gamepad. That is everything when it comes to all of the World 4 challenges here relating to the Inkling Boy Amiibo. And all we have left now for the Inkling Boy Amiibo are the World 5 stages, which we will be tackling in the next episode. Next time on Let's Play Splatoon, we'll make our way through all of the World 5 levels here via the Inkling Boy challenges. Thank you guys for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.